How lovely to see you all. I confess to being quite anxious when I arrived about an hour ago. First time I've been in a room full of people for over 2 years. Journey took longer than anticipated. So I'll go cross country, it'll be lovely. Yeah, cross country means going right through the centre of Worcester. Not a good idea. So definitely going back on the M5. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for allowing me to be part of what you're creating today. It's truly inspirational what I've heard. I'm sorry I missed this morning. I would be as zen-like as all of you, I'm sure, had I taken the trouble to come this morning. My name's Cathy, as Jess has just said. It's a great pleasure to be here, as I've said. My background is in big brand marketing. I've worked with brands like Heinz and Coke. And marketing is all about getting results through other people, whether that's persuading Tesco to stock the stuff, whatever the stuff is, getting people to buy the stuff, or the production people to make enough of it. So people skills are absolutely critical. And I now have the privilege of training people in skills such as resilience, communication, and motivation. Now, building your skills in these areas is actually quite simple. It's all about remembering that we are humans. And this is at the heart of a healthy attitude towards work and towards life. And 3 aspects of the human condition, seemingly operating in conflict with each other, are key to understand. First, we get stuff wrong, right? We're imperfect, fallible human beings. Second, we'll then beat ourselves up, won't we, about whatever it is that we've got wrong. And then we'll feel bad about ourselves. Helpful? Not. So why do we do this to ourselves? Well, it comes down to what's going on between the ears. Our brains have an inbuilt negativity bias, unhelpful, but this is because it's doing everything it possibly can to keep us safe. It's constantly scanning the environment for danger and making judgments on what it sees. Do we need to worry about that? Not. This is helpful. Yeah, we don't want bad stuff to happen to us, but it does mean that we fixate on the negative. The good stuff, the familiar, the positive, the joyful, our brains immediately move on from. No danger there. And the third aspect of the human condition that we need to be aware of is this. Because the brain is scanning and judging, we're very quick to judge ourselves when we get something wrong. So consider a situation where someone has done something that's really angered you. Hot on the heels of that feeling, you start beating yourself up. Why did I let them get to me? I shouldn't let them get to me. So now you're angry and annoyed at yourself for being angry. Sound familiar at all? So the brain's negativity bias, plus this tendency to judge ourselves, sounds like a perfect storm of constant self-flagellation, doesn't it? So if you consider yourself to be your own harshest critics, you're right, you are. But the good news is that everyone else is their own harshest critic too. So you're in absolutely excellent company. So the first step to cultivating a healthy attitude towards your work and your life is to recognise these immutable facts and embrace your fabulous humanness. And that is a word, because I checked. The next step, oh gosh, flashing, that's not good. The next step is to try on for size some tools and tips to deal with the stresses and strains of daily life and work by addressing our judgmental brain and its fixation with bad things. And I'm going to share a few of my favourites today. Let's go back to the example I gave, where someone has said something that's really angered you and you're annoyed with yourself for being angry. How can we break that cycle? By first and foremost recognising that you are not your thoughts and feelings. Thoughts and feelings happen to you, but they don't define you. If this is a new idea to you, it can take a while to get your head around, but it is well worth the effort because it's a really, really powerful distinction to make. You're not your feelings, you simply experience them. So how might remembering this help? Well, it helps you to review the situation a little bit more objectively, which might go something like this. Gosh, I feel really angry at that. And I'm annoyed with myself for being angry. Well, that's not massively helpful. Anger is a perfectly legitimate feeling. It might be more helpful to think through what it was about what he said that made me so angry in the first place. This can take some heat out of the situation and allows you some space to process how you're feeling. You can then decide how to respond to that individual in a way that moves things forward, rather than reacting from that place of anger and probably making things worse. Reframing is a really useful technique in learning to respond differently to things that are going wrong. And this is about looking at a situation from a slightly different perspective. So instead of beating ourselves up when we make a mistake, we could use the experience as an opportunity to learn. So say you presented a new idea to the board of directors and they turned you down flat. Now, you could waste an awful lot of energy feeling bad, telling yourself you're not good enough. Or you could be curious about their response. Find out what they didn't like about it. Find out what they did like about it, and perhaps their aspirations for the future. Now, you're well equipped to come up with some great ideas that might just hit the mark. Now, our brain hates uncertainty. It's smelling danger again. And this is why it's immensely stressful to worry about things outside of your control. Your brain doesn't know what's going to happen. It can't. It's outside of your control. So it catastrophizes instead. It makes up a worst-case scenario, so it's got something that it can work towards. Now it's got some certainty, because the worst thing is absolutely going to happen, because it always does, doesn't it? Did any of you find, during the height of the pandemic, did you find yourself doing some of this? We're all going to die. Boris has told us we can't trade. We'll never trade again. I've been furloughed. I'm never going to work again. That's your brain catastrophizing things. Of course, none of those things are happening. Here we are, all back together and getting back to normal, whatever that means. We don't call it new normal anymore, do we? No, that went out of fashion. So, a really useful mechanism here is to make the distinction between things and events over which we have control and those over which we don't. So, for example, a yacht crew harnesses the power of the wind, which it can't control, to navigate the water, which it can't control, simply by adjusting the sails. Recognising that we can do something about things and events over which we have control, but not those over which we don't, can be really quite liberating even, and provide much needed perspective on where to focus our time and energy. And I'm getting so excited, I've mixed all my pages up there with me a second. Oh, there it is, there's the fifth one. Okay. And the final technique that I'm going to finish with is my very favourite. It's around cultivating optimism. It's a fantastic way to wrestle the brain back into some kind of positive thinking again and gain a more balanced view of the world. An optimistic outlook helps you to see solutions to problems and alleviate stress. So we're going to finish by engaging in a powerful habit to cultivate it, practicing gratitude. Some of you noticed when I crashed in here about 1 o'clock and started to put post-its and basically throwing felt tip pens at people willy-nilly. That was for this purpose. So let's take some time out to share things that we're grateful for in our lives right now. If you can grab a post-it, grab a felt tip, write one or as many things that you're grateful for in your life at the moment. Please hang on to them for the time being. Once the formal proceeding has concluded and Jess has concluded, I'll ask you then if you wouldn't mind just posting them on the fixed part of the door at the back behind the curtain. I'll move the curtain out of the way in a moment. But for now, let's just hang on to them, please. And then once you've written something on your post-its, I'd like, if any of you would like to, I'd love to hear some of what you're grateful for in your life right now. If you'd just like to indicate, however you want to indicate that you'd like to share something, we'll share some of that with the room. Fantastic, wonderful, thank you. Sorry, who is?
My cat.
Your cat, awesome. Fantastic. Who else would like to share? Go ahead.
My adverse life experiences.
Yes, really good one. Yeah, absolutely right. They make us who we are, don't they? They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think that's a complete lie, but absolutely. If we can learn from those experiences, absolutely, it propels us forward, doesn't it? Thank you. Who else would like to share? Sorry, there's hands up over here.
My mum for dog sitting.
Your mum, yay! Excellent. Sorry, go ahead.
We've put a few things like Indigo Well and the Winn team and
absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed being here today, enjoying hearing from the rest of you, and I shall hand back to Jess. Thanks again.
Thank you.